All right, so we're talking about how to run a successful class. I do know a lot about this because I failed miserably at the beginning 23 years ago. I only had two kids at a time in my classes, but that worked out because I paid $15 an hour for the classroom space and then I charged $10. So even now, y'all, 23 years later, I still finished my classes charging about $10 a week. I did go up to $50 a month instead of $10 a week, but still over 23 years, I did not follow inflation. I kept my price extremely reasonable because you know what? That made my classes grow. So I was still doing the same amount of work and I would have between, like, I start off with two kids a week. Well, that's only $5 profit per that hour. So I was making $5 an hour and I was bartering babysitting. But then as I continued, and even during that year, I had to add sessions and add sessions and add sessions. And I think it was because partly it's Spanish, right? Whatever you're teaching, that dictates a lot of it. So it's not always you. It's that's not necessarily a high need. But the other part is that I let people pay weekly. So they would pay double at the very first time. They pay $20 and then they'd pay $10 every single week. And so that gave them the option of opting out at any time. So already I'm giving them permission to choose to continue or choose to quit. So that fear, I'm removing fear. So every time you're thinking about selling a service, you have to recognize there's a lot of unknowns. So we have three topics today. Our first one is marketing. So you're always marketing. People only buy what they are told to buy. If you haven't told people to buy your product or to pay you for your service, they're simply not going to. First of all, they don't know about you. And secondly, they're not going to do it. Like if they just see it, but they weren't told, hey, you need this, then they're probably not going to make the jump unless somebody else is telling them, hey, you need this. So there's a lot of opportunity. Everybody's just clamoring for our money and our time and our attention, right? On Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everything. You have to compete with that. So you must self promote. And that feels really bad. You feel like, oh, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to feel bossy. I don't feel naggy. But you have to. Otherwise, nobody knows how great this service is that you're providing. So first thing, I'll put some notes over here in the chat room and I'll put it underneath on the actual YouTube thing. What three things have you done? Whenever you're marketing your class, you need to do at least three things. So it can be email 3 times, Facebook at least 3 times, Instagram, you need to have some sort of graphic and you need to post it at least 3 times to get those people. That email, the BCS heart loop, I know people say they don't check their email. It's still an avenue. Send it 3 times. People are going to miss it. So don't get annoyed or don't feel like you're being annoying. You're just informing them. And that third time is a lot of the time that's when they act. So don't give up after that first time. You still have a whole month to promote your classes right now, especially for the CHC. The second thing, who are you helping? So Angela is super great about this, and lots of other women, especially women, are really good encouragers. So whenever you see one of your friends, anybody that you know promoting their class, like it, like it, like it, like it. Put a little heart, put a smiley face, do a hands up, any kind of emoji or any kind of reaction underneath their post, even responding to their email. Say, hey, I saw this email. That helps them. And then what happens is they want to turn around and scratch your back too. So when you see me liking everybody's post, One Day Academy, CHC, BVCHC, all the different co-ops, yeah, my kids are already like, I don't have anybody that I can do that for. Like that, I don't need that service. But then when they think about Spanish, guess what is going to come to mind? You know what? I'm going to send somebody to Suzanne because she constantly helps me. So that again feels selfish, but y'all, this is what marketing is. You're just letting people know, hey, I'm out here. Hey, I have a service. I know something. I can help you. And maybe not this year, but maybe next year. I have students I have grand students now, and they send others to me from my online classes to my in-person, all my in-person classes, which are, of course, ending now, but all over the 2 decades, people talk. Word of mouth is your best friend and your worst enemy. So that comes to the next part of marketing. And I'll say this again during communication, and I'll say it again during classroom management. Praise in public, criticize in private. I don't care if you're helping them with a typo it doesn't seem mean. It doesn't seem mean to correct their little, oh, you meant Wednesday, not Tuesday. That looks like you're criticizing them in the comments. No, help them, but privately. So anytime somebody messes up, you want to go to a messaging, a specific message in the secret where nobody else sees. But if you see something that's awesome and you literally go, oh my gosh, that's awesome, post it. Praise in public, criticize in private. With marketing, you also have to think about removing unknowns. So a lot of times you think that you've told everybody everything, but you haven't. You have to remove all the unknowns. They're scared. So over in the chat room, we have those. The biggest unknown that people don't want to ask you about is cost. How much is this going to cost me? What's my commitment level? A lot of times we say, oh, you can just ask me, or people say, well, DM me or PM me for that information. They're not going to. They're not going to. They're not that interested. They don't want to take the risk. So you need to remove the unknown of cost, date, length of time, ages, location. What's your affiliation? Do you have to be a member of whatever group, the co-op, one day, CHC, a certain church, a certain faith, a certain religion? What is your affiliation that you expect from others? Where are you in that arena? Sometimes parents don't care at all. Other times parents care immensely. So let them know that. Are you going to promote that during your class? Or are you going to be like, hey, that's nothing that I'm going to ever say. Because I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, I cannot help but talk about him during my Spanish classes. And I let people know that. Sometimes he comes up. He's not the focus. I'm not teaching about Jesus. But if, I will say, oh my gosh, praise the Lord. Or, Jesus loves us so much, doesn't he? I say things like that during my class. If that's going to offend you, you need to know that. What other materials do they need? Are they going to have to, what do they need to have when they get to class? For me, I provide all the materials. I charge a materials fee. And then that way, when the cute little babies walk in the door, I can hand them all these lovely gifts. Their mama doesn't have to wonder how many pieces of paper, what size of notebook, how many pencils, what kind of flashcard, what binder, what do I actually need? Oh, what edition of the textbook? Here's your materials fee. I will gather it all and I will have it for your child at the first day. Removing those unknowns is such a relief from the parents. And a lot of times you can get it at a slightly better price because you're buying in bulk. And then what's your background? Do you have a degree in this area? Do you have a degree at all? Why you and not somebody else? Why can't this mother just do this at home? What are you providing for them? And then your experience. So whether or not you have a degree, maybe you have a lot of experience of this because of whatever reason. And then the last part about marketing is, what are you offering? For me, again, I was very, very blessed to have my classes be Spanish. So many people are scared of foreign language, and public speaking. Very difficult to do public speaking at home because that's not public, is it? So we want to think about, what are you offering? For me, it was my expertise, my subject matter. So I was very lucky in that area. But then I also did a psychology class. I did interpersonal communications class. I did an entrepreneurship class. I'm doing a leadership class and turning that into an online course because of my passions. If you have that passion, then that's enough. When I started out and I did not know how to teach little kids, I only knew how to teach kids that were like about my height and taller, and they already knew how to read, and they already, they knew a lot. So I had to figure out how to teach little kids. And so I told my husband, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. Everybody's going to quit. And he's like, nope. I was like, why? And he said, because those parents are getting an hour where their kid is away from them in a classroom setting. And a lot of those 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, this is their first time to be in a classroom setting. They're learning to raise their hand. They're learning classroom management. They're learning how to take turns. And they're just in a class. He's like, you could sit there and like play tic-tac-toe and the parents would still be happy to pay you, some of them, because their child is safe, being educated, and they can say, right? Sometimes it's just, oh, I can say my kid is in a Spanish class, and that's enough. So don't worry about if you have a bad week or a bad lesson or something doesn't go the way you wanted it to during your class. It's sometimes just the experience for the child, but you have to look at that price point. Is the experience for the child, are you over delivering for the cost that you're expecting? Sometimes you're offering the space. If you're teaching an art class, the kid could probably do that at their house, but you've provided the space that you don't have to clean it. The parents don't have to clean it. They don't have to give the materials. They don't have to do all that stuff. So think about what are you offering and write it down. So as I go through this, and you're going to pause the video, write down what are the unknowns that you've removed and what can you offer that a homeschool parent, or if you're not doing a homeschool class, what are you offering that they can't get on their own, or they'd rather go ahead and outsource it because it doesn't cost too much. It's not too much of a commitment for them for time, location, and money. All right, so that's the first one, marketing. You are always marketing. People only buy what they're told to buy. Second one, biggest one, communication. I mean, if you think about it, this is our life, right? Relationships are communication. Education is communication in some way. It might be written, it might be seen, it might be heard, but everything about our life is communication. You have got to be an excellent communicator. The first one is, like I already said, praise in public, criticize in private. You can really damage your public appearance with one comment. You don't know who's seeing that comment. You don't know who took a screenshot of that comment and then sent it to 50,000 people. Some people are actually negative, sadly, fairly negative people, and they enjoy twisting things just for drama. Not a lot of people, but there are some. And so they'll take something that you texted or that you wrote or that you posted, and they'll twist it. They'll take out their portion of it, or they'll change it a little bit to make you look bad. I'm not really sure why, but that has happened to me. And I think it's a power thing usually. So be very careful of what you say. Praise in public, criticize in private. If you're criticizing someone that you don't know very well, and you don't know if they're defensive or if they're, a little bit wounded and maybe they could turn on you, make sure that your criticism is very, very positive. Like, you're doing such a great job. I thought this might help you. So think about, can this be misconstrued? You are trying to be a public servant for money. Keep your public eye positive. Think about how you talk to your kids. Maybe that, at home you would have dressed that kid down differently than you do in public. That's okay. We have our private lives and we have our public lives. Think about how this is coming across, because people are always judging. Do they want their child under your care? So I have 2.5 decades of people putting their children under my care and watching me go from one baby to 5 babies, from 0 graduates to 4 flown and grown, and now I just have 1 left. And so that's a really positive, exciting, and very honoring thing, that people still want to put their children under my authority because they've seen it, and there's plenty of evidence that they could use. So think about that. Your children are part of your kind of your resume, aren't they? All right, so I already said over communicate, and I do mean this. So again, don't feel like you're nagging. It's so good to go ahead and tell people one more time. Don't make them go scroll back. I sent that email last week. Send it again. If somebody has enrolled, you probably want to let them know, hey, this is coming next week. Just one little email, or you want to have some sort of app. There's remind apps. I'll put this over there. You don't have to follow your group. You can have your own setup. What app do you like the best? Is it Remind, a group me? Email is not going to be the best. We just get inundated. You can do a group text, but I don't recommend that. So I recommend Remind is good. Group me isn't as good, because if somebody replies back to you, it goes to the whole group. I mean, you can change the settings and things like that. Can you go ahead and make your own Facebook page, like a Facebook group? That's private, but again, that will require every single enrolled family to be on Facebook. So think, if you have a website, there's lots of ways to do a free website. Wixsite.com is how we did the CHC for years and years. I did have to pay for the domain, but the actual hosting is free. So you can make a little just announcement board. Ask your group, whoever you're teaching with, can you have your own page where you can update it? So there's lots of ways to communicate, making it easy for those parents to find out the information they need. You're trying to, again, remove the fear. And then they can check back and say, oh, look at all the things she's done. So if you look on my events page on Flip Flop Spanish, you can go to that events page and look down and scroll back for all the years of how many conventions I've attended, how many classes I've taught in public and in private classes, the different co-ops, There's all these different things so you can see the history of how I treat my students, and what posts I put there. So highly recommend something other than nothing. Over communicate. Whenever you're communicating, please remember you are still marketing. You are reminding those parents that why your time and your service is worth their hard-earned dollars. So pay attention to how you say things. Make sure that you're always positive. You're telling them how great your child is, their children are, and what the opportunities that are coming. And then along with that, you want to send something home every week. You want to talk to your students about next week, next month, next semester, next year. You want them to always look forward to the next time and send something physical in their hand home with them. I know that sometimes, well, we did art class and it has to stay at my house, or it has to stay in the classroom, or, oh, I just did like a flashcard thing and I'm not sending home any flashcards. Send home a piece of paper that says this week was on it and this is what we're doing. That way the kid goes home and says, oh yeah, like, mom says, oh, what'd you do in Spanish class today? Oh, or did do you have anything to show me? Yes, ma'am. And they have something to put up on the refrigerator, or they have something to remind them they went to that class. They want to go again, because if it doesn't demand our time, a lot of times, especially as homeschoolers, we let it fall, don't we? Because there's so many other things that are demanding our time. Especially if a kid is sick or is on vacation for some reason, you will lose that kid unless you remind them. They used to enjoy this class. They missed one time, and man, that was easy to not go somewhere that week, wasn't it? Especially for my 8:15 class. Oh, if I have one kid miss for a cold or a sniffle, or the mom has the baby, they're not coming back unless I remind them that this is super beneficial to them. So it's not that your class isn't excellent. It's that it's way easier to not put on your shoes than to put on your shoes, get in the car, get somewhere at a certain time. So please send something home, and remember, you're marketing. Check in with the parents. With my high schoolers, I don't do this so much because they're excited about the kid. The kids are taking ownership for it. But for elementary and middle school, you want to be checking in with them at least monthly, but probably weekly for younger ones. This week, these are the things we did. Next week, don't forget blah blah blah. Whatever it is. Hey, don't forget, up in May, we're going to be having a recital. So again, pushing forward, reminding them of what's coming and checking in with them. Did you have any questions? Maybe have office hours. So I used to have office hours here on Zoom. I just had a link. Every single parent had, every single student had it. I was here on Tuesday afternoons at 2 p.m. or whatever it was. And I started that in 2020 during COVID. And it was such a benefit. That's actually what created my live sessions for my Spanish Geniuses course. We had so much fun. The kids would come and they were staring at me. I was like, well, what questions do you have? They said, oh, I don't have any questions. You said you're going to be here. So I thought I'd, hop on. I was like, oh, well, do you want to practice some Spanish? And that is now the best part of my Spanish Geniuses course, is the live sessions where we speak together. All right. So that's communication. And we'll talk about it at the end. And we talk about what tactics you've tried. If you haven't gotten any responses, what do you do if you've posted? And maybe, Suzanne, what do I need to change to get people to respond? And then the final point number 3, we've done marketing, and now we've done communication. And this is the nitty gritty. This is where a lot of people don't quite understand that you can fail. Classroom management. Classroom management, on your first day, you are setting the tone. So this is, everybody says, oh, being a public school teacher didn't really help me homeschool. Well, yeah, maybe not, but it does help with teaching private classes. A lot of times you have the experience, you have the expertise, and you have the passion, but you're not super great at managing kids at tables. There's an art to it. And this was probably the best part of my degree, is classroom management. On your first day, you want to start with rules. What are your expectations? The best way to start with rules is let the kids put them out there. You'll probably have 5. They all need to be positive. We respect others while they're speaking, or we treat others the way they want to be treated. We stay seated unless we have specific permission to be up. So we keep our hands to ourselves. So positive, positive, positive. We lift people up. So we're not going to say we don't put people down. We say we lift people up. So your 5 rules, you probably have some in your mind that you want, but you let the kids say what their rules would be if they were in charge. You write it up on the board, and then you go, that matched one of my rules, and then you write it the succinct way that you've already got it planned. Those 5 rules also need to go home to the parents on a piece of paper, a policy, something like that. And then the second thing is getting to know each other. Relationship is everything. If a child feels like they are not going to be missed in that classroom next week, they're not going to want to come back. They want to feel special. You want them to feel special. Education is relationship. Education is relationship. Without relationship, education is just a list of facts. So you want to imbibe that relationship into that child. The easiest way is to ask them, let me hear it. Tell me something boring about yourself. So you don't have to go around the room where every single person is talking to you, but you can say, hey, turn to the person closest to you, or find somebody that has the same color t-shirt as you and tell them something boring about yourself. Tell them your name and something boring. And then you say, hey, what did you hear that was boring about somebody else? And so they're not talking about themselves, they're talking about somebody else. So it's not only your relationship with the children, but it's their relationship together. And this is what makes a wonderful atmosphere where they crave to be in your presence, and not necessarily in your presence, but in the presence that you have created in that little cocoon of a safe space where something's going to get done. That's not chores. It's not feeding the dog or whatever mundane kind of situation they have at home. You have created an experience that nobody else has. Like if you talk to my Spanish geniuses, they all communicate over the 23 years, and they're like, oh my gosh, do you remember that one lesson? And they're like, oh yeah. And they talk to each other, even they're a decade apart. They all have a certain feeling that I created for them, and they have a pride of, I survived Senora Ghost's Spanish Geniuses, because I'm rigorous, I am hardcore, but I am also very loving and very encouraging. So the atmosphere that you want is the one that you tolerate and what you create. That brings us to have a stake, have a plan. These children, all geniuses, all lovely, can act like stinkers. They can act, they are all sinners, 100% legit. Every kid I've ever had in my class and all my own children are all sinners. I can't believe it. Not a single perfect one. So they mess up, and it takes a little while typically. And a lot of times it's that really smart, funny one, and they push you, right? And so you need to have a stake. For me, it was monedas. I'm looking around to see, I don't have any, but it's little poker chips. And I would hand out poker chips at the beginning of class, based on having homework done, or sometimes that they're there on time. Oh, you brought your pencil. Like, so everybody starts off with 2 or 3 monedas, little poker chips, and they keep them there on the table. And then if they break one of the rules, first, they always have a warning. I never take a moneda first time. If I have to say your name and I say, oh, Miss Angela, wasn't I talking that time? I think that was my turn, right? Oh, yes, ma'am. So sorry. And that's usually enough. But I tell them, now, if you do it again, I'm going to have to take a moneda, okay? And I just walk over. I don't actually take it. I just hold my hand out. And they have to put a poker chip in my hand. And that feels terrible. And usually that only happens once for the year and once for that class. So have some sort of stake, something that will happen if a rule is broken. If you do have a problem kid that they've run out of monedas, right? Like you have gone to them and they're one of those kids that just keeps losing monedas. They can't quite keep their mouth shut or whatever it is. And you need to talk to them actually before the end of class. If you ever have to do that, take them to the back of the room where they're facing you and you're facing the back of the class. So you can still see the kids. You can say, y'all continue to work on whatever it is while so-and-so and I chat. It's okay if they can hear a little bit of your voice, because you're going to be kind, you're going to be encouraging, you're going to tell them why what they were doing isn't helpful to them and isn't helpful to you and isn't helpful to the class. And so you know that they want to be helpful, and it's just an accident, and they didn't intend to be less than helpful. And so you give them all the grace, all the excuses, all the reasons. And then you say, so what do you think you can do differently when we go back and sit down? And then they'll tell you. And then they go back to the room after they sit down. Then you come back in and you, all right, yay, we've got that settled. Let's continue on. So if you have that issue, it's best if you can wait to the end of class, but a lot of times we have the next class coming, things like that. And sometimes if you take them to the back of the class to do that, man, that fixes it for the year because nobody else wants to be in the back of the classroom with you. If your child continues to have problems week after week after week, y'all, they only get 3 weeks. That's it. The first week, I tell the kid only. I say, hey, you need to come back and you need to fix this thing. Next week, I don't expect this. Okay. The second week, you tell the parents and you say, hey, I talked to your kid last week. I told him I would tell you this week. This week, he did it again. Next week, he needs to not do it. The third week, if he comes back and continues to do that, you say, listen, I told you, I was going to tell your parents. I told your parents, if you come back and do this again the following week, you're not welcome back. That's it. The third week, they're out. I've only had to do this 3 times over 23 years of classes and literally thousands and thousands of students. I've had to kick a kid out 3 times and nobody messes with me. I am kind. I am fun. I am exciting. I'm a great teacher, all the things. And you do not cross me because all those other kids deserve the same type of happy, exciting, not rude, not disruptive experience. I mean, I had people paying me in quarters. I had people paying me in lawn mowing, in babysitting, in fresh bread. They valued my class. I'm not going to let one kid ruin it for everybody else. And so, and there's no refunds, y'all. And make that very, very evident at the beginning as well, because that money is at HEB, right? That money is not there to be refunded. You pay me, pretend it's gone. So that's another reason I gave them weekly options too. The last one is going to be you accept or you promote what you tolerate. So if you tolerate, like I almost always had one of my own children in my classes. And so if I tolerate a little bit of sassy, funny cuteness from my own child because they are my own child, I'm going to be promoting that with everybody else. And so the funniest thing is the sweetest one. I mean, she is super sweet. The baby, she was the sassiest, and I had to call her down the most. So she's the most familiar with my teaching style. She is super funny, and she took it too far again and again and again. And on the third time, I say, I am about to kick you out. And she believed me, and she did not want to be kicked out. So she was going to have to do it online with all my, so she was never sassy again. So she, have a stake. You accept what you tolerate, you promote what you tolerate. Send home all these expectations that we're talking about. Make your plan, write it down, type it up, and send it home over that whatever channel you're using, not email, but also post it on your website, your Facebook page, things like that. For me, I have a piece of paper that I had the parents sign. I had policies, and I sent it home. This is a great way to do it, is in Google Forms, right? So that's how they register, and then they have to initial that they understand each one of these little tips. I understand these items. Click, 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 and then they sign, and then they say, yes, I've paid through PayPal or Venmo or however it is. So Google Forms have made life so much easier for us, where we can show that parent, because sometimes you have a bully parent. It's not the kid. The parent is kind of the bully. And you can say, remember, you said all these things. Remember, you understood that there was no refunds. Remember? And they're like, no, I never signed that. And you're like, here it is. So cover yourself. Make sure you have documentation. And then the hardest thing a lot that people recognize is that they don't get paid. You need to send home bills. People don't want to do that. Well, they want us to remember it. Well, we don't. Like, I don't remember. I'm meant to pay you. I'm in the business of collecting money from other parents, but man, I would forget to pay for ballet like every month or science or music. Oh my gosh, I forgot forever. And it's not because she wasn't worth it. I just forgot. And so don't take it personally, and don't be scared to send an invoice. Send a PayPal invoice, send a PayPal. If they did it over Venmo, however they paid, send that home. If they pay with check or cash, you should have their number, right? When they registered, you got a phone number for that parent in case whatever happens. Text them. Hi, we didn't have your payment yet for this month. If they ghost you or they forget, then you'll have to send home a piece of paper with the kid. Now that involves a little bit of shaming, but so keep on doing it. If they don't pay, let them know, hi, until you get paid up, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to have things prepared for your child. So recognize that you're worth the money. They committed to doing it. They don't have to come. Don't be too bossy about it or too costly. Like, look at your prices. Is it worth that? If you lower your price, you might have more students, so it might be better to spread it out, have a low price, especially if you're starting out. Man, be a bargain deal and then go up from there as you get more experience and more expertise. People will value you and they'll pay more, but don't charge too little because then you're undervaluing. So I wouldn't do less than $10, but I see some of these classes that are $60 and $70 a month. That would price me out. I'd be like, oh, I guess I need to figure out how to teach physics now. So recognize that there is a limit to what you can expect, especially from single income families. I always said send home homework or some sort of piece of paper. What are your homework policies? If they don't do their homework, are they allowed to keep coming to class? For me, no. 3 weeks, same thing. If you don't come the third week, if you don't have your homework the third week, you can't come. You have to have your homework done. It's not one of those classes where you could just learn it by osmosis. And then the last thing is to remember that no matter what you're doing with classroom management, with communication, and with everything you're doing, you are still marketing. So always talk about next year, always talk about what you're adding to their life. And don't forget that people only buy what they're told to buy. All right, I think that's about everything. What questions do you have for me? Or problems that you tried, something you've tried before, and you're not sure why it didn't work, or lots of different. I guess I have some obstacles I can talk about. If y'all don't have any questions, I can tell you some scenarios I've heard of in the past. Okay, I'll tell you one of the biggest problems for me starting out was finding a location. Nowadays, it's not that big a deal, but back in 2002, this is not common, right? Nobody taught classes for pay. There were co-ops, and you met at a church, and then that church tolerated you until you got kicked out. But people didn't really exchange hands back then, or exchange money. Money didn't exchange whatever. Anyhow, they didn't change hands. So finding a place like library doesn't work unless it's free, right? This is a for-profit class. A lot of churches, unless you're a member there, they're not going to be cool with it because they've got insurance issues. So what I did, I went to Jackie's Toys and Books. So any kind of top bookstore or toy store, things like that. Sometimes they have a classroom or a room, say space that is available to you. There are some tutoring areas like Sylvan, Kumon, Mathnasium. There are some tutoring sessions. Well, usually those places are only open after school. They would love to make $10 or $15 an hour from your classes. And typically you don't have to sign an insurance thing because they already have that. So look at all those tutoring facilities across the area. If you don't want to join a one-day academy or community homeschool center or a co-op or classical conversations, I mean, there's also lots of other communities that you can join. But if you can't find one, you want to go do this on your own, look at those tutoring sessions. Just pitch it to them. Just say, hey, I'll bring traffic to your area. I'll pay you this much money for the hour. And then I promise to post about your services outside of my classes 3 times a semester, whatever it is. So there are ways to win-win, right? And then you get credibility because you're at an educational facility. You're not just out of your house. I did classes out of my house for years. So I did Wednesdays up at Key Curriculum and Jackie's Toys and Books. I went to one of those indoor backyard, like the indoor playground. It's called My Backyard. It's an indoor playground. And they had a party rooms like at Legends, right? At Legends Events Center, we just rented the party rooms once a week. So there's lots of options for locations that don't have to be sanctioned by your local co-op, your local church. And just posting out on Facebook or posting on the business network, joining your business, what's it called? I can't think of the name of it, but like the city council, not the city council, but anyhow, there's like a business networking thing in your particular city. They would love to provide educational options. The 4-H center often has location that you can use during the day because everybody's in school. So there are ways to partner with other businesses that will promote you and promote the business. You're going to have to give them some money, but that's okay. As long as you break even at the beginning, it'll work. Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. Thank you. I was like, commercial city, something. Yes, your city chamber of commerce. Join that as a contractor or as a small business owner and do it that way. You can just have a DBA. You don't have to have all the taxes and all that stuff yet. Thank you, Raina. All right, so location is a big deal. Number of butts in seats. Whenever you're promoting yourself at the very beginning and you're telling everybody, hey, I have this class, and you've removed those unknowns, right? I'm going to go ahead and post those unknowns again because I know we had some join afterwards. So all the unknowns: cost, date, ages, location, expectation, commitment, all those things. Once you've posted all that in a couple of places and you're like, Suzanne, I only have 2 kids. So you need to know your number. How many kids are you going to do this for? Like, what's your lowest number for you? Do not tell other people that number. Don't tell people, I have to have at least 4. That means I don't think people are going to join my class. If you don't think people are going to join your class, why would anybody else want to join your class? So what you want to say is, hey, everybody, I only have seats for 10, or I only have space for 12, or whatever the highest number is too. Also, you need to have the highest number, except 2 kids, okay? Allow 2 more kids than you think you can handle join, because you will have drops. I remember the first time somebody told me that, and I thought, that is really rude. How dare you? No, I won't. I won't have any drops. And they were right. The reason you have drops is not because you're not awesome. It's not because you're not valuable. It's not because anything about you. It's because people overcommit. They overcommit their money. They overcommit their time. They overcommit their gas budget. They overcommit everything. They think, oh, this is all exciting. I'm going to put these kids in these 17 different things, and then something has to drop. And a lot of times we're teaching some sort of an elective, or we're doing something extra for them that they don't necessarily need. Like, they actually can teach writing at home. They actually can do a cooking class at home. They figure out, okay, I can cut the cost and cut my time waste, my time expenditure by doing this at home. So after they overcommit, sometimes your class is the one that gets the cut. Or the kid really did want karate more than they wanted Spanish class, and so they have to choose. So except, like, if I say, oh, I can handle 14 kids, I think I've got 2 tables, 7 kids each, right? 3 on each side, 1 on the end, 3 on each side, 1 on the end. So I can have 14 kids total. I'm going to allow 16 to join, and I'm going to put the kids with their back to me, or I'm going to squish them up a little bit, or add another table or whatever for that first week. A lot of times kids number 15 and 16 don't even show, because people figure out that they overcommitted before the first day of class. That's another great reason to have your materials fee, because that way you can use your materials fee as your enrollment fee. So they're not feeling like you're just adding a fee on. They recognize that they're paying for something. And then those kids, it's a non-refundable materials fee. Once you pay that materials fee, that's what holds your spot in my class. If you have not paid for your materials, your spot is not there. If they bail on me, that materials fee is gone. Sorry, you're not getting that back. But I already have materials for the next person that probably will take their place. So if you don't have enough people's committing to your marketing, or they haven't responded, post again, and post again. If you have somebody who last year took your class, or somebody who thinks you're great, ask that person, hey, could you just follow me for the next 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 hours on Facebook, and just like the class, like my post, just say something or put a little heart. Also, for your One Day Academy, your CHC, your co-op, whatever group they're posting, like, if there's 24 teachers in this organization, that organization should always have at least 24 likes on every post. You should be promoting and encouraging and supporting the facility that is allowing you to be a part of it. You want to be their biggest cheerleader, and you want to go and say, oh, the writing teacher, like the art teacher, like, post. Yeah, I'm so excited. Promote. There should always be at least 24 people saying, yes, this is a good idea over on that organization. For whatever reason, people don't do that. I think as human female Americans, we are like, oh, or maybe Southerners. Oh, I don't want to cause a splash. I don't want to create any ruckus. And so we just scroll. Don't just scroll, like it, put a heart. Yay, put an arm, a strong arm. You don't have to necessarily come up with something witty. You're just helping others to say, hey, I support you. I see you and I support you. I might not need your class, but I will support you. So if you see me liking your stuff, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, my kid's too big for your class. We're moving, but I support you. And then guess what? When you think, I might need Spanish, who are you going to think of? So recognize that you need to be supporting your organization, and you need to talk to the other teachers in your organization and get them to do it as well. I've been saying this for 23 years, for 15 years at the CHC. People don't do it. I don't know why, but you really should. It costs $0. So support your organization, promote the leaders of your organization, and promote others within the organization. Praise in public, criticize in private. All right, so I've talked about location. I've talked about what to do if you don't have enough people. Oh, and then the third thing to do with if you don't have enough people to make your class, and you legit like, for whatever reason, it was the wrong time, the wrong location. Maybe it's still a little bit too much money right now. Who knows what the reason is that, or maybe you're just new, right? People don't trust you yet because homeschoolers are very skeptical. And so they haven't met you yet. If they meet you, they will love you and then they will trust you. But if they haven't met you yet and you didn't get enough students and you only got 3 kids and you really needed 5 to make it worth your time, just tell those 3 kids. Do not go on Facebook or email or anywhere and say, I had to cancel my class. I'm not valuable. No, again, praise yourself also in public, criticize in private. So you tell just those 3 people, I'm so sorry, our class isn't going to make. If you do think, if you really want it to work and you do want, I would love to do it, maybe you could talk to some of your friends and you let those people promote for you. So get them to gather their friends and bring their friends to your class. So that's kind of a last ditch effort, but it's a good way to get more students in there. Just don't tell everybody in the world that you had to cancel. And also say it more often than you need to, than you think you need to. Talk about your class, talk about what you're excited about. What are you doing on week 12? What plans do you have for week 17? What do you have for their midterm project? Make it very, very real and remove all those unknowns. And you don't have to say the same thing again and again. You can say, last year when we did this, this is the fun thing that my kids learned, or this is a funny story, So there's lots of ways to promote your classes without just saying time, date, location, Make sure you put your cost out there. Okay, so obstacles are location. I talked about enrollment, having enough people to enroll is that one. And then I think the last one would be gossip. Gossip is a huge detriment. Just don't join in, right? That's the best way to squash it. So it goes back to praise in public, criticize in private. If you hear of gossip, oh my gosh. Over the past 2.5 decades of gossip, I am very grateful to say that I don't know much because I just get up and leave. I leave the group chat. I leave the Facebook page. I block the people. I don't engage with gossips. So if you ever hear somebody say that they think I don't like them or they think there's an issue there or whatever, they're probably a gossip. Because I'm not trying to say bad about stuff about people, but I do not engage with gossips. So if anybody feels like that, I don't like them, that might be why. Maybe they just talk too much about other people and I can't handle it, y'all. So it's just not good. If you hear somebody talking bad about somebody else, man, shut them down. Because guess what? They're going to talk bad about you. But just be polite and shut them down. It can really, really hurt your business. It really can. And just wait it out. Your character will shine through. People do know the character of that person, and they do know your character. The bad part is that people just don't regularly defend your good character. But that other person, because the good character people don't want to get into it, right? We're like, oh, we don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to mess things up. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But the bad character person has no problem bashing and exaggerating. So just wait it out and be above reproach in your speech and your conduct, and it will solve itself. It's just painful in the time. All right. I think I handled most of the obstacles. I'm trying to think, if you do lose kids along the way, you do need to finish out the year. So do not quit your classes, because that will bite you in the rear later. Even if you get down to one kid, don't cancel that class. If you do get down to one kid, something's happening. There's something that's going on. You should not be losing all of your students. So you can text me, message me, call me, and tell me what you think it is, and I can help you troubleshoot it. But you might get down to two, but if you get down to one, something happened that didn't quite go as well as it should have for your classroom. So remember your marketing. Remember that you need to have a good plan for your classroom management. Oops, other way. Remember that everything is communication, and people only buy what they're told to buy. All right, I'm gonna hit pause or stop, and then y'all can chat with me if you like.